because no one's gonna accidentally open the crate door. No one's gonna,
so
you know what I
when
mean?
you put him in a crate, like...
Until we get a handle on all of this stuff and we come up with a very good, solid procedure for how to have him in the home when people are around and coming in, he's gonna be put away somewhere.
Oh, when people are over.
Yes. Yep, he'll be completely put away because we need to mitigate any risk right now of him doing something, because the more access he has to rehearse those behaviors and perform those behaviors, the worse they will continue to get.
Right.
So until we have, and we will have a plan and a procedure set up so that we can start getting him adjusted to people coming over, but until that's put in place, I would like you to get a crate and just put him in the crate.
What's going on?
Oh, not much. How are you?
Good.
He's been doing better this week.
What you been working on?
We've been working on like the walking that we were doing a lot. And he's been taking to it pretty well.
Come here. Come here.
He has been like more aggressive towards like other people and dogs, like bikes this week.
You're talking like on the walk?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like other than that, he's been doing really good.
And you mean like passing by, just reacting at them and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, we can take a look at that today. We haven't really done much with that so far, so. So obviously a couple bikes and stuff. We'll see what we get here. No. So is that kind of what you're talking about?
He has been like more aggressive towards like other people and dogs, like bikes this week.
So more motivating correction, obviously. So right there, he still did it. I turned up to about a 60 there and gave a tap though, right? So substantially higher than that like 15 that I was working at from before. So we'll see as we keep cruising here now if that kind of inhibits itself a little bit after that correction or if he keeps trying to do it. And that's normal. You know, you're gonna see stuff like that. The key is you have to be positioned to address it the second it happens. So I'm not gonna miss an opportunity like that. Like I wasn't prepared for that reaction right there from the standpoint of I didn't necessarily think, you know, his body language and stuff like that didn't look like he was about to do it, but he did it and I still made sure again, I was like, oh, well that was a big reaction. So I'm gonna make sure I substantially turn up here. I'm gonna give my correction. That way I didn't miss that opportunity. It's bizarre, but it isn't. Yeah, it's you know, we know this is his behavior, right? So we can't go into situations like he's just gonna be perfect and he's gonna be an angel. He's never gonna rehearse those things. Like in order to get past it, he has to rehearse it so we can address it, you know? Very good.
Weirdly enough, too, I find that when people try to engage with us, like talk to us from across the street,
Does that set him off?
it does, and I don't know
Yeah.
if that's just because we're
That's normal. We'll go this way.
just around it longer.
Yeah, it could be that in combination with it's increasing the distraction. You're going from a neutral person walking by, which already sets him off,
Yeah.
to a person that's now engaging and posing in his mind a threat, you know? So same deal, I'll kind of try to simulate those scenarios sometimes. Obviously we have to get it under control in this context, just walking by first.
Yeah.
But once we have that under control, like we'll see how it does with these two. Once we have it under control there, then I'll start, if I go for a walk and see somebody I know, I'll stop for 5 minutes and have a conversation with them and make sure he sits there and, you know, maintains being polite next to me, you know? So I'll have you go kind of ahead of me and off to the right just to create some distance because these guys are on flexies, I think. And stay loose on your leash still though. You don't want to add any tension. Perfect. Look great. We're gonna stay this way. Gets his attention a little bit, so.
Yeah.
That's where it's like you were talking before, you're like, it's so like, this is where it's like frustrating because it seems like it comes out of nowhere. It's not that it comes out of nowhere. We know this is his nature. You're just seeing new triggers right now, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's some people that'll go 3 years with their dog without ever encountering a very specific event. You know what I mean? And then it's like 3 years later, they encounter that specific, you know, your aunt came over and was wearing this peacock hat and carrying something that smelled like something that you know what I mean? Like some sort of weird freak situation, and the dog reacts in a certain way, but they've never seen that picture before. What is this fish slide move?
This is go-to.
Yeah, I see that. One of the biggest takeaways is seeing a dog like him who for, you know, obviously we've only been doing the e-collar training now for 2 weeks, right? But generally speaking, works fairly low on the e-collar. 15, 20, 25 is usually good for just general training and stuff. You know, how substantially that level can change with triggers, you know? That's where I talk a lot about like obedience levels and behavioral levels, right? Obedience, we're trying to interrupt a behavior temporarily, obviously. We're trying to get them to try something else. Just let them know, hey, you made a mistake, try something else. Behavioral stuff, we're trying to create an inhibition, right? I want him to think, getting into that aroused, amped up state and reacting at a dog, reacting at a bike, whatever it may be, it's unacceptable. You can't do it. So in order for that to happen and to create that inhibition, that correction level needs to be basically intolerable to him. He wants to avoid that level, right? So you see it go from that 15, 20 to 80, 85 in some of these cases that we've seen so far. And that's why we're seeing such a quick, rapid transformation as we're passing these dogs right now. Keep your eyes on him as you're going. Nice. Little looking, no big deal, obviously. Now again, I am by no means like, oh, we can't look at the other dogs and that. I think when you get into triggers the dog is concerned about, telling them they literally can't look at the thing creates more stress sometimes. All I care about is not engaging in the trigger. So you can look, you can check it out, you still gotta stay focused on what I'm asking you to do though. Same deal, looking, but staying focused on you. Perfect. I think he did really good. I think this was a pretty productive session for him. You know, I think that obviously the reactivity and stuff was a big concern. You know, you started seeing more of it because we're able to take him more places. And I think we got to see a really good mix of different types of triggers. And we saw enough of the reactivity to address so you could see exactly how we need to work through it, right? So my biggest thing that I would take away from this is, one, I want you to go out of your way to come to places like this, right? We don't want to hold him back with the easy walks, right? We want to challenge him a lot because let's say you start getting him used to working in really challenging areas like this. When you go back to just working around the house and stuff and there's not that much going on, it's gonna be a freaking cakewalk, you know? So chase those challenging distractions and get those under control with him. Additionally, don't play around with the levels, much higher at this point for it. I would not, for the reactivity, go any lower than 70, unless it starts seeming like it is just entirely too high, but I didn't see that at any point today, right? And just get it under control, right? Don't let your guard down. Don't be surprised if you have 2 walks that are like perfect and then that 3rd walk you see something new and starts reacting at it. That's not, you know, it's not surprising at all. That's a normal part of working through the process, right? Again, the micro setbacks are actually the macro wins, you know? This is what we do for dog training. Is my car's about to literally explode. The check engine light just turned on. I needed to jump it 3 times yesterday. Now the fucking transmission is gonna like probably explode on me. So, but we still got shit to do. Still shit to do. I leave tomorrow. I gotta get these lessons. We gotta go to the park. So, you know, you should keep this thing open while you're driving.
Sometimes.
All
I'm
right.
not going on the highway.
Fair enough.
She gets hot back here.
She's like, I like the breeze.
Yeah.
What's new?
Okay. Not much. Doing pretty good.
What have you been working on?
Going to parks and sitting and being terrified and hoping she doesn't bark. It's gotten pretty good. I mean, we had a couple German Shepherd ones that she made it through, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, how has she been with the distractions and stuff?
Barking at all.
She's not?
No.
Okay, good.
I mean, I'm
Come.
sure she will here.
No?
I mean, you know, places like, oh, there's maybe like 1 or 2 dogs that were sitting
Sure.
watching.
All right, well, we'll see what we get. better there?
Yeah, she doesn't like colds either, so this is...
She's doing well.
So I was saying, like, I feel like all these things were just, I don't know, she needed more.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she had her issues with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I remember the first time we saw her with the dogs in the lobby.
Yeah.
But some of it at this point, once you get them through some of these initial training stages, is just exposure. You got to get her around it, you know, and push yourself out of that comfort zone of taking her to these places, so you could start to develop that trust in her of like she can behave herself.
Right.
Come on, baby. This is why we say, always be prepared, whether it's with your dog, whether it's with your vehicle, be prepared. Smells warm. Smooth.
Be one of those like coffee people.
You haven't said hi in a while.
So, like my best friend, my roommate, there's been a few times where he like knocks on the door, and if it's, I wouldn't say aggressive, but she gets defensive, and she like starts working, and it's in a context in which she's already very used to him. Like she'll hop up and lay next to him just fine when we're just around about the house. But like if I close my door, and then I'm like, we have decent sized rooms, and until the crate gets here, she's just free roams around my room unless she's in the bed stay. But the second he knocks, sometimes she gets defensive.
A great way to work through that, especially if it's someone that she does know or whatever, it's not really the intent of threat necessarily. Ask your buddy to try to run through that a couple times. You know, have that e-collar set up on high, and you know, have your buddy knock on the door the second and don't even worry about necessarily putting her in a bed stay or anything like that, you know, because in that moment I'm addressing more just the behavioral issue of the barking, of charging the door, you know, being that, like you were saying, defensive kind of situation. So don't even worry about it. Let her kind of be roaming around and have your buddy knock on the door. The second she starts barking or runs up to the door or jumps on the door, whatever it may be, just respond with that, marking that no, tapping that e-collar, and then just waiting for her to kind of stop, right? When working through those behavioral issues, it's something that I really want to make sure that we're addressing it and working through it before we go and put her on that bed stay to calm down and everything, right? I want her to really understand and comprehend that the reason she's getting corrected is because she's having this reaction, is because she's jumping on the doors, because she's barking nonstop or whatever it may be. So have it just be something that, you know, we can address on that high level. You're gonna see that big reaction, but you're also probably gonna see her immediately kind of comprehend, okay, I probably shouldn't keep doing this because I don't really want that high of a correction again. I don't really want, you know, the benefit doesn't outweigh the consequence kind of situation, right? Of wanting to keep barking and all this stuff. And then just do that a couple times, you know. If it's something that she's barking, you tell her no, give that correction, and it seems like she's almost barking because of the correction or something, that's fine, you know, let her have a second or so. But I want to really see that kind of disengagement from the door or from the barking, or, you know, whether that is running to the bed, whether that is coming over to you, whether it is just generally walking away from the door. Once we can see that behavior, then it's like, okay, now we can go over to the bed and kind of relax, right? And the first time it might take 1 or 2 corrections to get her to stop or so. That's totally normal because it is the first time she's doing it. And the reason I'm going on high is because when she's so stimulated at that point, you know, those lower levels just aren't gonna really mean much at all. You know, she's not gonna care about those lower levels at all. with those high levels, one, she's gonna feel it, and two, it's going to be something where we can get closer to that one and done kind of situation where I correct once and then you're done, right? And then we can get to the point, maybe, you know, the next time you run through it, it's one correction and she's like, okay, I remember this, I remember the consequence of it, I definitely want to stop and go right to the bed or just walk away from that door, you know? And then the third time, it's going to be something where we are hopefully going to be able to at least see those wheels turn in her head. She hears that knock on the door, maybe she kind of like does a huff a puff, you know, kind of thing, but ultimately decides, oh, okay, you know I've done this a few times, I know what happens when I do get up and start barking or chasing after that door. I really don't want to do that because of the consequence, so let me just kind of process and work it out on my own, right? And all those little stuff, even if it's something where you get to a point of she's not necessarily charging the door, but maybe she like gives a quick little bark or something, I'm okay with letting that go, you know? We're starting pretty big right now and I want to see it kind of slowly work itself out, but if she needs to get one little bark out or something and then tone it down, I'm okay with that. Because it is such a high stimulating situation, I want it to be something that if I can see her trying to make a difference, I'm okay with being a little bit more loose on that correction as well.
So what's going on with Nova?
So Nova is very reactive. She had some toy and treat aggression issues and food aggression. But we've just been separating, so we haven't seen that in a while.
When you say toy and treat aggression and you say you've been separating, do you mean towards another dog?
Yes, towards another dog, never towards us.
Okay. Anything else big to note with her?
She did, I think, so I don't even know how to pinpoint really what the problem was, but she was being greeted by a couple kids and she snapped in one of their faces. I think it might have been an overwhelming type deal because she's met kids before and
Sure.
she did okay.
Okay.
So I think anything that she gets a little uncomfortable, she doesn't give a lot of like warning. So she just goes straight from discomfort to like
Yeah, sure. So, okay. And how old is she?
she's a rescue, but about 1.5 years.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
So definitely a little bit of a nervous Nelly, you could tell.
Yes.
A little apprehensive,
Yes.
obviously.
She spooks really easy, especially
yeah.
at night. She spooks from nothing.
Sure,
It'll
sure.
be nothing and she'll start growling.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we could take a look at all that, obviously. Now, what's her behavior like in the house if you have guests come over, stuff like that?
She's very, very excited. If they don't come in the door, she's barking like crazy. If they do come in, she just gets really excited. She'll jump, and we've been trying to work that out of her. She wants to be like face to face and like say hi to your face. So she like,
Yeah.
she jumps and jumps, but mainly just overexcited.
Now, the situation where you said she snapped at the kid,
Yeah.
you said they were going to interact with her or something like that.
They had been for a little bit. They were like petting her.
Yeah.
Just,
What
like,
was the
really-
context? Like, were you at a park? Were they at the house?
We were in the downtown Willoughby area, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a parade going on, so I didn't think it was going to be that much socialization.
Sure.
But there were a lot of people around. And she seemed okay. Like right now, her tail's between her legs. Like you can tell she's nervous. But in that
Yeah.
situation, like she seemed fine. And so the kids were like, "Can we pet her?" And I was like, "Yeah, like she seems okay."
Yeah.
Maybe it was just too many kids. There was like 4 of them, and they're right at face level. I don't know, but they were being really sweet. Nobody was like, none of the kids were like high energy or like getting in her face or anything. So,
Okay.
and it was just kind of like no warning either. 'Cause if there was a warning, I would have gotten her out of there immediately.
Yeah, I mean, we know she's apprehensive of new people, right? Regardless of if she was okay for a minute with them, right? We know she gets really easily spooked by things. So, and we know right now we don't really have any control over her, right? Like she kind of is, you know, just even from these first couple minutes here, just kind of doing what she does, right? Go sniff this, check this out, bark at this person, whatever, right? And you can tell when she gets triggered because we have no way of of really like influencing her behavior in a way that she actually understands, it's kind of like she has that switch where it just goes from like I'm good to like I'm not good, right? I'm good to I'm not good. So that's a lot of this when I look at situations is we have to go into situations almost predicting that right now, because we don't have a way of influencing her, if suddenly she decides she's not okay with an interaction, that's what she's going to resort to, right? So that's where the training process, basically the goal of all of it is we learn to give the dog better direction, obviously. We learn to communicate with them through these places where they're scared. So like when she starts getting nervous of Paige over there with the camera, we can let her know, hey, don't worry about that, focus on this, right? And start to redirect her a little bit, and then understand the best practices as far as socializing her, because I think that's another big one, whether it's socialization with dogs or socialization with people. The make or break on if it's going to go successfully or not is, have we set up the environment to be conducive to good socialization, right? And typically speaking, out and about in public on a leash is like the worst places we could socialize our dog, because on top of her already being nervous and being in a new setting, she's on a leash, right? And on a leash basically traps her, right? She's on this short leash right now, and in her mind, even though there's not really a lot of tension on the leash and stuff, she can't get away. You know what I mean? Where if you look at dogs in the wild, right? You ever try to catch a stray dog before? Like it's very hard. It's very hard because their go-to is I get scared and I take off, right? So they're not even reacting or barking or growling or anything. They're just like, screw you, I'm out of here, right? So leashes, fences, barriers, all these types of man-made restraints that you'll find out and about are what amplify that fear from just I'm scared to I'm scared and I'm reacting, or I'm scared and I'm aggressing, right? So we have to factor that in as we're socializing. So one big rule right off the rip, obviously, and I'm sure you've done this after that incident, is no on-leash greetings, right? If she is on a leash, she does not need to meet any people or any dogs, right? Because we know the probability of it going poorly is much higher there. So, and you can tell just by starting to give some direction, just hanging out here right now, we got the camera looking at her, right? We got you over there. We got a car that was just pulling out. We got a guy working on a car over there, and she's not happy, right? Not totally chill, but she's 10x more calm than she was when we first brought her out, and 10x more focused in, right? So what we're gonna do in a second here, come on, is I wanna test one of the triggers she had a minute ago, which was with the camera, hey. And what I'm gonna have Paige do is she's gonna kind of just walk in, walk out, and Paige, just don't go any further than that crack right there, obviously. Good. That time she even kind of looked up to me. She's like, wait a minute, is this okay? And that's fine. Obviously, if she wants to look elsewhere, I have no issue with that. Good job.
The leaner.
I feel that. Cool. Why don't you just walk around one more time here, Paige? And notice I'm loose on the leash. I don't want to add any tension, obviously. I'm not petting her or anything, but if I need to, she's actually doing pretty well. If I need to, I'll interrupt it, all right? And it'll just be a quick pop on that leash. Good job. Cool, looks good. Come on. Perfect. Now what I want you to do here is when she does start fixating back, a little bit more firm with that leash pop. Good. And then let's start with just going back and forth here a couple times. Perfect. Excellent. And that's what I want to see. Good job, buddy. You used to be very reactive too. We have before video of you, now you're helping us with lessons. Very good. Much better. Just got a follower on Twitter. It's exciting. I'm a tweeter now. Excellent. It's a much calmer state of mind right there. Beautiful. Then you can just turn, come back. Same deal, see if we can get away with no corrections here. That's excellent. And you see even right there, she made the correct choice on her own. That was beautiful. All right, go ahead and walk back towards your car, hang out there for a minute.
So like when I pulled in, she'll see a dog just in the car and she loses it.
Yeah.
And same with like in the yard,
Yes.
she'll lose it.
We've got a lot of things we have to work on, right? So right now, I always say, keep your expectations focused into the things we worked on and not so much the other things. Like obviously we want those things to get better and we're gonna work on those things, but we're frankly just not in a position to be able to address reactivity in a car yet, because it's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna stop driving and turn around and grab the lead? You know what I mean?
It's yell her name. And
it's just not gonna do anything right now. So basically how this will progress though, is once we move a little further along through things and we start conditioning in our e-collar. See Cannoli over there? That chow's name is Cannoli. It's the funniest thing ever. But basically how this progresses is as we start to hit a point where we add our tools in, we get our e-collar conditioned in with a couple commands, we start being in a position to utilize that e-collar for corrections, that's where we'll start to solve that, because you'll be able to use your e-collar when she starts freaking out in the back seat, right? We'll be able to tell her no and interrupt her with that, right? Same deal within the backyard. It's difficult to like chase her around and need to grab the, you know what I mean? But the e-collar allows us to be able to do that remotely in a place where it's not going to become a problem, right? So there's solutions for all those things. There's just a little bit of work we got to do before we're able to actually address that stuff. Take care.
See you guys.
So right now our focus is when she's on the leash, I want you to make sure when you're around triggers, you can interrupt her from things, even stuff like this, right? She's not doing anything wrong, but I want to make sure, hey, I could get that attention to shift away from that and back on to me, right? It's like, hey, don't worry about what's going on over there, worry about what's happening over here. And you see she's like, oh, okay. Right? So we want to get into a habit of paying attention to her state of mind and focusing on keeping that state of mind shifted onto us while we're walking with her, just hanging out on the leash. Outside of that, I don't really care about her behavior anywhere else right now, right? Additionally, the other big thing is absolutely no on-leash greetings. Nobody should come up to her, no dog should come up to her on the leash, and that's like an indefinite thing, right? I don't ever do on-leash greetings. They're the worst place you could socialize your dog. So we'll give her healthy social outlets elsewhere, but that's when we got to just nix altogether.
I mean, really the way that we would go about this situation, really with any rescue dog, we look at the dog that's in front of us and we just forget about everything else because it's all guessing, right? We don't know what happened or anything like that. And frankly, moving forward with the dog, it doesn't matter. What matters is what we're seeing and the steps that we're going to take to address it, which will be the same no matter what is past us. So typically it's going to be just a lot of setting up foundational communication skills where you feel like you can actually effectively get through to him in situations instead of just allowing him to live like this and not being able to really influence kind of his behaviors. So setting up good communication through his skills of obedience, things like that, and then using the obedience to shift how he interacts with his environment a little bit.
When I first got it, all I heard were these horror stories. I don't like sit on the shop.
Sure.
But just to let them know, because we tried whistles, clickers, everything.
Oh yeah.
And this collar, the leather one will break. This is all stop.
Well, part of it is, I mean, ultimately you have to have a way to clearly show a dog that a behavior is unacceptable, right? And so there's a number of different ways to do that, but collar being the ones that we prefer to use. So typically, and like you said, you know, you'll say, still doesn't listen, you'll use it. That's part of it, is we want to be...
Now what is that barking and charging? Is he trying to or challenge you?
I don't know yet. We'll find out eventually. That's why I want to put a muzzle on him so I can actually take him. Because that way when I take him, he very well could completely stop as soon as I take the leash and be like, never mind. But, you know, for the 5% chance that he doesn't and he actually tries to bite me.
I don't.
It's fine. Stay where you're at. Go further away, because the closer you are, the worse it's going to be. guys work on getting him a little bit more comfortable wearing the mobile.
We're gonna take it away.
Yep, I'm gonna have you guys get one of these. I'm gonna get you set up with an e-collar. And what I'm gonna have you do is he's gonna wear the e-collar, and anytime he puts his mouth on anybody, even playfully, anything like that, we're gonna correct him for it. And any reactivity out the windows, in the car, anything like that, we're correcting. There's very minimal room for error because no one's gonna accidentally open the crate door. No one's gonna, you know what I mean?
Put him in a crate,
Until we get a handle on all of this stuff and we come up with a very good, solid procedure for how to have him in the home when people are around and coming in, he's gonna be put away somewhere.
Oh, when people are over.
Yes. Yep, he'll be completely put away because we need to mitigate any risk right now of him doing something, because the more access he has to rehearse those behaviors and perform those behaviors, the worse they will continue to get.
Right.
So until we have, and we will have a plan and a procedure set up so that we can start getting him adjusted to people coming over, but until that's put in place, I would like you to get a crate and just put him in the crate.